everyone! Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome! My name is Mary Chris, and for today's video, I'm just getting my coffee. It's big and heavy, and I have my laptop here, so I'm very careful. We are watching, see? Keep calm and drink coffee, it says. Isn't that an oxymoron? Because you don't drink coffee to be calm. Tea, yes, but coffee, no. But I just saw this cup yesterday at Winners, and I'm like, that's so perfect. So have a drink of coffee or tea, whatever you have. Cheers. Cheers. Okay, so this is the dealio. I will be watching Democracy Now! Because I really want to pre-film. Last week I was only able to upload one video because I was so busy. So I'm like, okay, at least I want to upload another video. If I don't pre-film today, then I don't have any videos for the week. So at least if I upload one video, that would make me so happy. So here we are. I am getting ready to go, so I was like, this is perfect. And I haven't watched Democracy Now! The Friday episodes. I'm like, perfect. That's the video I'm going to film because I loved it. Those videos. This is one of my favorite videos to film, is me getting ready and watching Democracy Now! Because it's just so efficient. I mean, who doesn't want efficiency? Anyways, guys, that was my first sip of coffee. And it was delicious. Let's have more. Let's have another one. Okay, guys, let's get started, okay? So on the next clip, you're gonna see me. I'm just gonna move to the side, and then we're gonna react to the video. We'll do the usual. Okay, before I continue, I just want to say we're just gonna do the usual where I'm going to watch the video while I get ready, because this is what I usually do when I didn't have my YouTube channel yet, is I would always watch Democracy Now! And get ready, and I figure I want to share that with you. And at the end, we're going to have a discussion of my thoughts. I don't like to interrupt while I'm watching. I just want to really just listen to Amy Goodman and all of the other people in the panel. So let's get to it.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Vatican has broken its silence after a shocking Pennsylvania grand jury report revealed more than 300 Catholic priests sexually abused 1,000 children and possibly thousands more in Pennsylvania over a span of 7 decades, as the church leadership covered up the abuse, transferring predator priests rather than firing them, and locking abuse complaints away in a secret archive. In a statement issued Thursday, 2 days after the Pennsylvania grand jury delivered its report, Vatican spokesperson Greg Burke described the abuses as criminal and morally reprehensible.
There are 2 words that can express the feelings faced with these horrible crimes: shame and sorrow. The Holy See treats very seriously the work of the grand jury and the report it has produced. The Holy See condemns unequivocally the sexual abuse of minors. The abuses described in the report are criminal and morally reprehensible. The acts were betrayals of trust that robbed survivors of their dignity and, in many cases, also their faith. The Church must learn hard lessons from the past, and there should be accountability for both abusers and those who permitted abuse to occur.
The Vatican told victims Pope Francis is on their side and promised action to root out this tragic horror, unquote. The statement came just months after the Pope said he mishandled a Vatican investigation into widespread sexual abuse by clergy in Chile, and less than 2 months after a Vatican court sentenced the Church's former ambassador to Washington, D.C. to 5 years in prison on a child pornography charge. In Washington, D.C., Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has formed a new group to coordinate Iran policy and negotiate U.S.-Iran relations since Trump's decision to withdraw from the 2015 nuclear deal. The newly formed Iran Action Group will be led by senior policy advisor Brian Hook, who led the administration's unsuccessful attempt to negotiate changes to the nuclear deal before Trump dumped it in May. The appointment comes as tensions are escalating between the U.S. and Iran after the Trump administration reimposed economic sanctions against Iran last week. Brian Hook spoke Thursday after his appointment as U.S. Special Representative for Iran.
The Iran regime has been a force for instability and violence. Our new strategy addresses all manifestations of the Iranian threat, and the new Iran Action Group will be focused on implementing that strategy.
In Massachusetts, the Boston Globe has stepped up security at its offices after a building manager reported several threatening phone calls Thursday, including a bomb threat. The threats came as President Trump singled out the Boston Globe on Twitter after the paper's editorial board let hundreds of media outlets in a coordinated series of editorials Thursday condemning Trump's attacks on the free press. Trump tweeted, "Now the Globe is in collusion with other papers on free press. Prove it. And the fake news media is the opposition party. It is very bad for our great country," Trump tweeted. Earlier this month, the outgoing United Nations Human Rights Commissioner criticized Trump's attacks on the media, calling them very close to incitement to violence. Former leaders of the U.S. national security establishment are blasting President Trump's decision to strip ex-CIA Director John Brennan of his security clearance, calling it a clear attempt to stifle the free speech of the president's critics. The letter was signed by 6 former CIA directors, 5 former CIA deputy directors, and a former director of national intelligence. It came, as the New York Times reported, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders sought to advance the security clearance story in order to change the topic away from news reports about Trump's alleged use of a racial slur, the N-word. Meanwhile, the former naval admiral who led the assassination raid on Osama bin Laden wrote in an open letter he would consider it an honor if Trump would revoke his security clearance. Retired Naval Admiral William McRaven, who led the U.S. Joint Special Operations Command under President Obama and now serves as Chancellor of the University of Texas, wrote, quote, "Through your actions, you've embarrassed us in the eyes of our children, humiliated us on the world stage, and worst of all, divided us as a nation. If you think for a moment that your McCarthy-era tactics will suppress the voices of criticism, you are sadly mistaken," McRaven wrote. The Pentagon said Thursday it will delay a military parade ordered by President Trump until at least 2019. The announcement came just hours after news broke that the estimated cost of meeting Trump's request had skyrocketed from $12 million to $92 million. The parade, originally scheduled for Washington, D.C. on Veterans Day, November 10th, was to feature armored vehicles, soldiers in period uniforms, and flyovers by military aircraft. Trump ordered the parade after he attended a Bastille Day celebration in France last year with French President Emmanuel Macron. Former White House aide Omarosa Manigault-Newman has released another secretly recorded audio tape saying it backs up her claim she was offered hush money by the Trump campaign to buy her silence over Trump's use of the N-word and other racist remarks. In the tape, recorded last December, just days after Omarosa left the White House, Lara Trump, Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, is heard offering Omarosa $15,000 a month in exchange for a small role in the Trump campaign.
Sounds a little like, obviously, that there's something you got in the back pocket to pull out. Clearly, if you come over as a campaign, like, we can't have, we gotta...
Oh, God, no.
Everybody's positive, right?
The legendary singer and songwriter Aretha Franklin, celebrated across the world as the Queen of Soul, died Thursday at her home in Detroit at the age of 76. For decades, Aretha Franklin has been celebrated as one of the greatest American singers of any genre who helped give birth to soul and redefine the American musical tradition. She was also a staunch supporter of the civil rights movement, going on a tour with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and offering to post bail for jailed political prisoner Angela Davis. After headlines, we'll spend the rest of the hour looking back on the life and legacy of Aretha Franklin. Our guests will include Professor Angela Davis. In India, officials say the death toll from devastating monsoon rains has risen to at least 164 amidst flooding in the southern state of Kerala that have just been described as the worst in nearly a century. Forecasters warn heavy rains will continue to fall throughout the weekend. In the Philippines, cleanup crews battled against a literal wave of garbage as flooding brought plastic bottles and other refuse into the streets of the capital, Manila, Thursday, following heavy rains last weekend. Meanwhile, in China, more than 50,000 people evacuated Shanghai as Typhoon Rumbia made landfall Friday, bringing powerful winds and floods. It's the 18th typhoon to affect China this year. The extreme weather comes as 2018 is on track to be one of the 4 hottest years on record, with greenhouse gas emissions driving up global temperatures. Back in the United States, federal court in Montana has ruled the company hoping to build the Keystone XL pipeline must conduct further environmental reviews before proceeding with construction. The ruling is the first major victory for environmentalists opposed to the pipeline since regulators approved an alternative path for the pipeline last November. The Keystone XL pipeline would carry oil from Canada's tar sands region in Alberta to refineries as far away as the Gulf of Mexico. In a statement, Tom Goldtooth of the Indigenous Environmental Network welcomed the ruling, saying, quote, "The dirty tar sands crude oil that KXL would transport requires far more energy to process than other sources of petroleum, and its extraction has already destroyed hundreds of square miles of boreal forests and wetlands in Alberta. We need to keep our fossil fuels in the ground and shut down extraction of highly polluting tar sands at their source." A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's rollback of Obama-era water protections. Thursday's ruling by a district court judge in South Carolina effectively reinstates the Clean Water Rule, whose implementation was delayed by the Environmental Protection Agency just last June. The Clean Water Rule sets drinking water safeguards while offering federal protection to wetlands and thousands of streams that flow into larger rivers and lakes. 1,400 workers at Google have signed a letter protesting their company's plans to launch a service in China that will allow Chinese censors to block search terms about human rights, democracy, religion, and peaceful protest. The New York Times reports the workers say the plan raises urgent moral and ethical issues. Earlier this month, The Intercept reported Google's project, codenamed Dragonfly, was launched in the spring of last year and accelerated after Google's CEO met with a top Chinese government official in December. In Argentina, a 34-year-old woman has died after attempting to induce a miscarriage. It's the first reported death from an outlawed, unsafe abortion since Argentina's Senate rejected legislation to legalize abortion last week. The decision dealt a blow to women's health and reproductive rights. The powerful Catholic Church had lobbied heavily against legalizing abortion. Currently, abortion in Argentina is banned except in cases of rape or when the mother's life is at risk. Dozens of Argentine women die every year as a result of unsafe, illegal abortions. In Louisiana, the FBI says it'll assist local police in an investigation after an African-American mayoral candidate in Shreveport was threatened with lynching if he didn't drop out of the race. Stephen Jackson says someone placed an envelope containing a threatening note at his home reading, Leave our statue and property alone and get out of the race, N-word, unquote, along with a caricature of Jackson with his head in a noose and the word rope underneath. Jackson is a county commissioner who was part of a 7-5 vote last October in favor of removing a statue honoring Confederate soldiers outside the Caddo Parish Courthouse. And in immigration news, a group of children and teenagers who've been separated from their parents for years as a result of U.S. deportation policies are planning to travel to the border in Texas in early September to reunite with their deported parents and demand immigration authorities allow their parents to return to the United States. These are two members of the group, Movement of Migrant Women and Their Families, Guadalupe and Miguel Angel Gonzalez, a brother and sister who are planning to travel to Texas to reunite with their mother, who was deported to Mexico.
All I'm demanding is what I'm given by right, that is to say, my mother. We're going to cross the border and return with our family members because we're demanding the authorities return them to us and that they allow them to pass.
Nosotros, algunos jóvenes con derecho y papeles.
We young people with rights and papers who were born in the United States, we're going to the border in Texas to demand that they return our parents to us, because it doesn't feel good to live without your mother or your father.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
Okay, guys, I just want to stop it here. I'm going to have just one video just on its own. I'm going to react to the rest later. She's gonna do a 1 full hour of Aretha Franklin, and I'm going to listen to that, and I'm gonna put my reaction later. But because she's gonna be doing a whole series on Aretha Franklin, I don't think you guys would want to watch a full video. I just want to react to the headlines first, and then upload this, and then I'm gonna do a separate one with Aretha Franklin. I'm so excited. This is why I love Democracy Now! Because, yes, I know Aretha Franklin's music, not all, obviously, but she's so iconic that even though I don't know the person, growing up, we've listened to her music, and it was in movies, and it's huge. That's how iconic Aretha Franklin is, that you don't even need to know her, but you know her music, you know her work, you know her art. And so now I'm gonna get a history about her activism and everything else, and that makes me so happy. I love Democracy Now! Because it's also a history lesson for me, and I personally love history so much. So anyways, I want to react to the headlines first about climate change, how it's affecting like Philippines and all the garbage, and hopefully these disasters are gonna put humans into action and say, hey, let's reduce our waste. What can we do to, reduce waste and reduce the heat that is, staying, the greenhouse effects. So I need to read up on that, on what happened in the Philippines and the garbage. But I know my cousin actually messaged me about that, and I'm like, wow. So you know what, you think you'll just throw out garbage anywhere, but Mother Nature is gonna spit it back at ya. So I also want to, maybe I'll do a video next time about how Norway is dealing with their garbage, where they actually burn the garbage to make more, they burn the garbage in order to produce energy. So I think that's really interesting. That's for another video. Anyways, guys, if you like this kind of videos, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will be notified for my next video. And comment down below, what are your reactions to the other headlines that we have? And the really big one was all the investigation where they found out all these Catholic priests were abusing children. I'm not joking. I was crying when I first, it was in the earlier, I'm gonna link it down below, but it was reported I think on Monday or Tuesday, and I was just like bawling and crying because children are supposed to be the most protected of our society because they're innocent and they cannot defend themselves. And so I will definitely try to react to that if I have time today. But yes, please, let's protect our children. I will see you in my next video, guys. Bye.